Okay, we are going to get started tonight. I want to make sure that I respect everybody's time. I know it's a weeknight, and I know it's a really, really busy time of the year. So thank you so much for being here tonight. My name is Adriana Plock. I am the Continuous Improvement Coordinator for the district, and one of my roles is to serve as the director of the Insight program. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Insight program, what this looks like. We'll go over all of the different courses or strands as we refer to them, and then also kind of talk about what the next steps are. For those of you that may or may not be aware, all of our students that are eligible to take an Insight course next year has been given information in a mandated, like it was a required resource meeting that we held last week. So they do have that information, but if there are any questions or concerns throughout this process, I am happy to clarify anything for parents or for students with this process. All right, so today what we're going to be talking about is who the members of the team are that are involved in the Insight process. We're going to be talking about what Insight actually is, what does it look like in action, and then we'll go over all of the different courses that we're going to be offering for next year. We'll talk about what some of the benefits of the program are and some of the aspects that make it a little bit more unique to some of the other options that we have here at the high school. And then we'll talk about next steps in case you're interested. Now, Insight started 8 years ago with one strand and 3 teachers. And since then, it's expanded quite a bit. So we now have this entire group of teachers up here that are involved in the program in some way, shape, or form, teaching a variety of different classes. And so we'll talk a little bit more about what those classes are, but most of our classes are team taught, meaning that there's more than one teacher that might be in that particular program. So what is Insight? Insight is a different type of learning experience that has a heavy post-secondary preparation focus to it. So the program is really designed for those students that are ready and demonstrating readiness to start refining their post-secondary path while they are still in high school. This is a program that really requires students to take initiative with their own learning. There is not hand-holding in this program. And it's really focused on helping students start to refine what they'd like to do as a career path down the road. So it's a deep dive into different career pathways that we have, that we know our labor market needs. We know that students will be able to find sustainable jobs within these areas. It's, like I said, not easy, but our students have overwhelmingly enjoyed the experience and have found this to be valuable for helping them prepare. It's been really exciting. We've had a couple now that we're 8 years out. We've got some of our Pewaukee alum that are now starting to come back as employees in the workforce and start to get involved in the program themselves, which is really cool on the other side of things. So we'll be offering 9 different strands in Insight next year. And again, we'll go over all of these individually, but you can see up here captured which ones are available. Now, all of them are open to 12th graders. 8 of the 9 are open to 11th and 12th graders. And we have 3 courses in which 10th graders are eligible to take those. So I'll walk through what those are as we move forward. Even if your student's not eligible to take one of the classes that they might be interested in for next year, this is always great to know what the classes are. There sometimes are prerequisites for these courses, and then can start planning for the future in terms of what other classes they might like to take. I'll also share towards the end about another experience that students, if they aren't finding a good fit here, something that they might want to do as well. So each of these courses or strands looks really different in action, but there are a few elements that are consistent throughout the board. And a lot of that really relies on different types of connections. The student's always at the center of everything we do in Pewaukee, regardless of what it is, but the Insight program is really supported by different types of community engagement, whether it's mentorship, whether we have guest instructors. We have a lot of academic rigor, and we have post-secondary credits and industry certifications are part of this program. And then we also have opportunities for clinicals, project-based learning, guest instructors, etc. In addition, most of you are probably familiar with our graduate profile, And I like to refer to Insight as being our graduate profile on steroids, because really it's taking all of these elements that we feel are most important for our students to have in order to be ready for the future path that they take, whatever that path might be, and it's really focused on preparing them for each of those elements. So mentoring. The one piece that is consistent through every single strand of our Insight program is mentoring. And when we survey our parents and our business partners and our mentors and their families at the end of every year, this consistently comes out as being the most powerful part of this program. When a student is accepted into the Insight program, they are surveyed to ask what career they think they might want to do in the future. Maybe it's a career that they've really been set on for a while and they're really passionate about. And it might be a career that they're kind of exploring and they're not real sure yet a lot about it, okay? So sometimes we have a student that might come in and say, well, I have a parent that's an engineer, maybe I want to be an engineer. And that's kind of as far as they've gotten in terms of the career exploration process. Sometimes we have students come in and they will tell me what they want to do and I have to Google it because I'm not entirely sure what that career even is. And it's usually a newer one that's emerged or something like that. But what happens is when we survey the students and they tell us what it is that they think that they want to do, it's my job over the course of the summer to go out and find them a mentor. And so we find them a professional who works in that field, who is then matched with them for the duration of the school year and meets with them monthly, either virtually or in person, for about a half an hour every month to really give them candid information. What does this career look like in action? What are the pros? What are the cons? What are the things that they wish they would have known in advance of choosing that career themselves? So what are all the different pieces? What are industry certifications that are beneficial for them? What are obstacles that they ran into? All of these different types of things are really helpful, particularly when they are coming from someone who is not a teacher and, I'm sorry, not mom or dad. They listen when it is someone who is in the field. So the duration of this is, again, the course of the school year, but this has been the part that's been really, really powerful. And so we've had our ultimate goal through this program is that students will have one of two different things happen for them. They will either come out of this program going, I think I maybe know what I want to do. And now they have a professional contact within that field. Equally valuable, we've had students go, my mentor's awesome, I hate this field. I cannot see myself doing that. We had a student a couple of years ago who was paired with a social worker. She had planned for years on going into social work and went through the program 4 months in, ended up in her school counselor's office panicking. She'd picked her college based on the social work program, everything, said, my mentor's awesome, I hate social work, I cannot do this, and she was in complete panic mode. And we were able to give her, because of this opportunity, a way for her to pivot while she was still in high school. We ended up arranging a job shadow for her in actuarial science, a little different than social work. And that's where she found her home. So she is now completing her post-secondary program in actuarial science, believe it or not. We've had other students that have met colleagues of their mentors and have discovered that's where their passion is. It's a related career, but maybe not the same thing. So we've had students come out of this program with internships, with job opportunities, with people willing to be references for them or write letters of recommendation. So that mentorship relationship is really, really important. We keep the mentorship one-on-one. That means it's a tremendous amount of work trying to find mentors for all of these individual students. But when we know that it's a student and a mentor that are really, truly working hard together and developing rapport, that relationship is stronger. And we also have all of our mentors go through 2 different levels of background checks. So keep that in mind as well. We do have a vetting process with our mentors. So a lot of times we will have students, or sometimes parents say to us, isn't this too young to start really deciding what you want to do and really making decisions about what you want to do, maybe when you're a sophomore in high school? And I'd argue that, first of all, it's not. Second of all, we all change careers many times over the course of our life, and this is a great opportunity to try something on and see if it fits. And you can do that in a safe place in the high school where if you, like this young lady, decide that social work wasn't your passion, you can go ahead and you can really make some changes and pivot before you're spending a lot of time and money on something that might not be a great fit. We know that nationally, a 4-year degree now takes over 5 years on average to complete. We know that the amount of student debt is going up on average. We know that there are plenty of jobs that don't require 4-year degrees that have openings and make incredibly lucrative salaries. So our goal is whatever the path is, whether they are 4-year college bound, whether they maybe choose a career that doesn't require a 4-year degree, that they're finding it and that they're settling into that pathway before they spend time and money on something that they don't enjoy or, quite frankly, that they don't need. So the Insight experience, again, like I said, might look a little different depending on what they're doing. And I'm just going to go right into what each of the strands are so I can kind of explain a little bit more about what this looks like. So one of our courses is our advanced media course, and this is a journalism course. So this course is really for those students that are exploring careers in journalism, broadcasting, podcast, editing, becoming an author, writing publications of any kind. And all of those particular students will find a great home in this particular course. This is one of the 3 strands that's open to our 10th grade. So we have 10th through 12th grade in this particular course, and students can repeat this course because it is different every single year. These particular students earn 1.5 credits for this experience. They put together a yearbook, which is fantastic. And then they also take an advanced media course. They are in charge of a lot of different publications that we have that are online. We have broadcast, podcast components that go into this. They have written pieces and publications, print publications that they push out. And they are also on staff and on hand for unique projects that we might have throughout the course of the year. So for example, we just had our building and grounds department wanted to communicate some new information out to the entire the entire Pewaukee School District staff. So they actually connected building and grounds with this particular group and put together an entire video, which ended up getting pushed out to all of us as staff as part of our professional development, which was pretty cool. This particular group also works with a lot of local organizations in the media. In terms of, we have a great relationship with Fox 6, and they do a lot of different work and exposure there to really help our students understand if this is really what they want to do. We have some students right now that are already applying to take this for their 3rd time next year because they know that this is what they want for a career. Or they're experimenting a little bit and looking at being an editor 1 year and then focusing on broadcast journalism the next, etc. Aviations. Aviations is brand new for us this year. So this is the very first year that we're offering this program. And we are really, really excited about it. The Aviations program is a year-long course. This is, again, one of the 3 that's open to our 10th grade students. This course covers the part of the curriculum that students will need in order to take the FAA written knowledge test, which is essentially the big exam that you have to take in order to get your pilot's temps. Now, for those of you that are pilots in the audience, I know that maybe I'm not actually getting all of this information correct. Am I getting close? Am I kind of close? Close, okay. This is a steep learning curve for me. I didn't know a whole lot about aviation going into this process. I've had to learn a lot this year. But the aviations course has been absolutely phenomenal for our students. They are so excited about it. So we've got a great group in there right now. And these students are working on learning about the flying environment. Now, for the 2nd semester, our students are going to get to choose one of 2 different pathways. The pilot pathway, where they're really focused on learning about manned aircraft, learning about all of the different components that go into being a pilot or air traffic control or an aerospace engineer and working on planes, etc. But there's also a growing field in UAS, or unmanned aircraft systems. And so we have a group of students as well that are going to be starting to work with drones. And at the end of this experience, they, if they so choose, can do some final preparations. They'll need to study a bit. That's definitely part of it. But if interested, they'll be able to take the Part 107 exam. And this is essentially the exam that they'll need in order to be able to become a certified drone operator. And we have a couple of students right now that are interested in essentially building a side hustle as a commercial drone operator for a variety of pieces. We have students in this program right now that are interested in all different elements of aviation, whether it's becoming a pilot or going into photojournalism and using drones, aerospace engineers, mechanics. And the other piece that's really interesting is we have some students that are looking at this as a really unique opportunity to explore a potential hobby down the road as just a private pilot. We also have a young lady in the program right now who wants to be a marine biologist. And she figured that learning how to use drones was going to be something that would be really beneficial to her as a biologist down the road. So that's why she's taking this class. So it's a really engaging class. It is 1 credit over the course of the year. And the other piece that we have recently discovered is that we can teach another portion of the content next year. So for any of the students that are taking the aviation course this year, if they would like, they can take it again next year for a different experience. They will be covering more content that is covered in the written exam that they will need. So it'll be a completely different experience. They will be able to rotate that and take that a second year. They have to, if they're interested, it would have to be 2 consecutive years back to back that they would need to take this class. So again, this one's open to 10 through 12. The other piece is if you have been upstairs at the high school anytime recently, we have a beautiful small glassed-in room, unless the blinds are closed, of course, but we have a flight simulator that has been donated to us by a local pilot. And he came into class earlier this year, and he has trained all of our students on how to use the flight simulator. So they're actually getting on this and being able to practice flying. They can practice flying right over Pewaukee School District, which is pretty cool. And then our teacher is learning how to run the instruction part of it, so he can actually learn how to essentially, for example, create a situation with a lot of fog and low visibility. So you have to fly based on instrument only. Or he can cut an engine, so someone might need to learn how to land with a compromised aircraft. So those are the different types of things that we're able to do with our simulator. Okay, our innovations class is 2 different strands. We have an engineering innovations and a business and innovations course. The engineering innovations course we've changed up a little bit for this next year. It used to be only open to seniors. We are opening it up to 11th graders moving forward as well, because we recognize that we have more and more students that are interested in the engineering field. We wanted to make it more easily accessible to them. These students in engineering, they do have to have 2 of the prerequisite engineering courses that they do need to have taken. Those are typically your entry-level engineering courses that a lot of our students here at the high school have. And then our business innovation class is really one designed for those that are interested in becoming entrepreneurs. If they want to be their own boss someday, if they have the new idea for the best new app for your phone, or some of our kids have these side hustles that they've got going on where they're making money. We have a student right now who's in the entrepreneurship class who has created his own lawn care business that he runs in the summer. And he's working on that. So these students are working and they're learning how to work together. Anybody who works in the business and engineering world knows that sometimes they speak a different language when they're interacting with each other, and so these groups work together on either on A days, and then they spend some time working as their cohort on different parts of the project during the other time that they're apart. So there's 1 credit earned for each of these, and then another credit jointly. So this class, that sounded confusing. So this class covers their ELA credit for the year. So if they are in innovations, they don't need to schedule an English language arts class outside of this because that is built into the innovations program. Global business was our very first strand that we brought to life 8 years ago. This particular course is 3 credits. And so that students will have a credit of their ELA class. So again, that is built into this program. They will have a credit of business, really working on project management. And then the last class is econ, and that covers their economics requirement. Students can take either AP econ through this program, or they have an opportunity to take econ through the college credit in high school program. That is a program that we have with UW Green Bay, and they can earn up to 6 college credits in economics as part of this class. Students in this particular program will actually work with local businesses. So local businesses come to us with projects that they need to have completed. These are usually, if you give us a business's top 10 list of projects that they have to do, this is something in the 5 to 10 range on that ranked list. These aren't projects that are going to make or break an organization, but they are projects that are genuine work that needs to be done that these companies don't have maybe the time, the resources, or the perspective that they really need in order to be able to get these projects up and running. So we have teams then of 4 to 5 students that are assigned to these projects, and over the duration of the school year, they work with these business partners and they provide all of the deliverables for that particular project. So let's give you some examples here. One of our first years out, the Milwaukee Bucks. If you've gone to a Bucks game, you know that they throw a lot of things into the stands, t-shirts, can koozies, things like that. Years ago, about 8 years ago, they didn't have an inventory tracking system. So they were actually sending an executive down to the warehouse to count boxes to figure out when they needed to reorder supplies. Now that's not something that's going to make or break the Bucks, but it was certainly a waste of time. So they came to us and asked us to put together a team of students that would research inventory tracking systems. So they gave us the fence posts, or the non-negotiables, in terms of what their budget was and all the different pieces they felt they needed. And then our team of students went out and researched different inventory tracking systems, found out which programs and systems are used by other comparable sports organizations, and then ultimately went to the executives of the Bucks and made their proposal, and that's now what the Bucks happen to use. Another big organization came to us, the American Heart Association, and they had a brand new fundraiser that they wanted to launch nationwide, but they didn't have any of the marketing materials for it. So they asked our group to put together all of the marketing materials for this fundraiser and then launch it here in Pewaukee in order for its inaugural launch, to make sure that we worked out all of the kinks, and then they were able to reproduce that particular fundraiser across the nation. And then there was another company that we worked with, I think it was just 2 years ago, where they were really struggling with hiring young adults. They were really losing individuals in their pipeline, and they wanted to increase the number of students, young adults that were applying for their program, and they could not seem to get that particular age demographic through their process for interviewing and hiring. So they actually asked a group of our students to evaluate what their processes were, go through the process for them, and then provide feedback and redo what their system would look like in order to make it more appealing for a younger generation. So those are some examples of some of the projects that our students in global business do. Now, our global business and our business innovations class are not held at the high school. Most of our Insight courses are, but these particular courses are actually held at the Insight office. The Insight office is in the business park here in Pewaukee. It's about a 7-minute drive from where we are, and students will go to the office for class, and that's how they refer to it. They will tell their peers, like, I'm going to the office. And so they will go there when they are at the Insight office. They are expected to dress like they are going to the office. We have casual Fridays where they can wear jeans and things like that, but other than that, we do expect button-down shirts, polos, business casual apparel during the day. We do have some students that will change as soon as they get back into the high school to put their hoodies and sweats on, and that's fine. As long as they're dressed professionally at the office, that's okay. So we do have those particular dress code requirements for those two classes. Some of our other classes have some different apparel requirements that really mimic the work environment that you would see out in the quote-unquote real world. Elements of health and medicine. These students you'll see in scrubs. This is our healthcare pathway. So this is the most rigorous course in terms of credits. Students in this particular program are actually earning 3.75 credits during this class, and it is held the first and second hour of every day of the school year for the entire school year. This particular class, it covers their PE requirements, so they have a half credit of PE in personal fitness. They also have a Project Lead the Way medical interventions class. They have clinical rotations. They go to WCTC actually for the first several months of the school year. They actually have class over at WCTC, and they go through the CNA program over there, and then they're able to take the exam and hopefully become a certified nursing assistant, which is fantastic for anybody going into the healthcare field for two different reasons. One, it allows us, once a student is a CNA, it allows them more opportunities when we do our clinicals and our rotations. That opens the door with HIPAA for us to get our students access to some areas of a hospital or rotation that they would normally not be able to see. Two, a lot of our students will work as CNAs as a part-time job. And it certainly pays better than some other part-time jobs out there like McDonald's or things like that. No disrespect to McDonald's. And then the other piece is, even if a student wants to, let's say, go and become an anesthesiologist or a cardiothoracic surgeon, I have one of those this year, these individuals need to have patient contact hours that are documented as part of this process. And those CNA hours will count for part of that. So even if a student says, I don't want to be a CNA, I want to be an anesthesiologist, they are still going to need to acquire patient contact hours as part of that program, and this will help with that part. The other piece that's newer as of a year ago is we've introduced a math class, or a math credit, I should say, to this program, because students in this program have always been doing math as a part of this. It's just a different type of math. This is a class that students need to have taken or be taking at the same time concurrently Math 3. So it is content that is beyond our Math 3 math. And it's really looking at the data science and the analysis of math as it applies to healthcare. And this has been tremendous for some of those students that sometimes don't understand how math applies to certain things that they're doing and that they want to do in the future. We've had a lot of students really find their home with math here, where they're really understanding something like, if someone has hearing loss, how does that translate to sound waves, and what does that look like when you're starting to work on cosines and tangents and all of those other things. Serving Others is a new course this year as well. This really captures the home for anybody who's really interested in human services. So anybody who's considering going into education or mental health or public relations. This is a great place for these particular students. So in this particular class, students are actually taking Psych 102. This is a college credit and high school course. So students will be concurrently earning a credit here for psychology, and will be earning 3 credits through UW Green Bay as well. Additionally, they will have a credit in methods, and this methods class is really the fun part of this class. If any of you have been downtown Pewaukee lately and have seen the gnomes that are all over the place that are made of tree branches, there's one right outside actually the doors here when you come in. This group of students has been working with a variety of different community organizations, and they've also been working with teachers and classrooms across the district. So they have gotten involved in our 18 to 21 special education program, working with some students with special needs and helping create projects for them and walking them through those projects. They've worked extensively with Positively Pewaukee on downtown beautification projects. They've worked with our littlest learners across in the 4K and 5K classrooms on a variety of things. So these students are getting exposure to what it's like to work with young ones, to plan projects that are engaging, and to ultimately give back to our community in some way, shape, or form. So this has been a really popular class so far, and it's gone really, really well. And these kids are everywhere, all over the community doing things. It's pretty cool to see. Then we have our technology support internship. You're all still with me, right? Okay, all right, so TSI we call it. When we have a one-to-one school district, there's a lot of devices. And we have a pretty small IT department. So we also have a lot of students that are really, really skilled at technology, more so than I am. So we have students that are interested in the IT world find their home here. If they want to be a software or hardware engineer, a website designer or developer, cybersecurity specialist, network engineer, these particular students work our help desk upstairs. So they actually work with our IT department, and they're trained on how to fix a lot of our different devices that are coming in. They serve as a go-to when our teachers might have issues with the device, and they work with devices that come in from all across the district, and they fix a lot of them for us, replacing screens and cameras and really learning about the intricacies of all of the different devices that we have. They learn about entering tickets and monitoring things. And as an ebb and flow, sometimes we have devices coming in and sometimes we don't. And there's lots of industry certifications out there that are really beneficial for students. So in the downtime, they actually work on industry certifications in an IT field. So our students might work on IT fundamentals, or they might be working on Google G Suite. We have a student right now that's very interested in cybersecurity, so we've ordered a special industry certification for her to work through because that's really what her passion is. This course is open to 10th through 12th grade. Students can take it a semester, or they can take it a year, and they can take it repetitively. So far, I think our most is, we had one student that took this for 2 years and earned a total of 5 industry certifications during her time in this program. She might be passed up because we have a student that's in it right now, that's in her 2nd year right now, who's already indicated she intends to re-enroll again next year. So she's really hoping to potentially beat that. But we have students that are going to be leaving with a full resume full of industry certifications in this particular program. I will say there is a prerequisite for this class. A clean tech record is important. So we do ask that our teachers have that our students have demonstrated solid technology use throughout their time here. If they are a student that's off task a lot on their phone, or if they have some tech violations that they have received a disciplinary referral for, they may not be able to be in this class. And our last one is world translations. This one particular class is the only one that's open to 12th grade only. And that is because one of the requirements, or the big requirement, is that they've completed 4 full years of one of our world language programs. So this is a great opportunity for students that are really looking at continuing to hone those world language skills, and also have a mentorship experience and get some community engagement while they are still in high school, but maybe not taking another full year of world translations. These students are working on what it's like to be a translator. It is not as simple as just word for word that you change from one language to another. It is a much more complicated process than that. But these students will work with organizations on everything from personal documents to HR materials to instruction manuals, and they will work with them on translating to and from English into Spanish, French, or Mandarin. So this is a great option for students as well that are really looking to, whether it's go into translation services or just make sure that that second or third language is really strong. Okay, so those are the courses. So our student expectations. To be honest with you, do not care what a student's GPA is when they apply to Insight. What I care about is, are they willing to work hard? And will they take responsibility for their own learning? That's what we want to see in Insight. We've had students in Insight that are part of our Talented and Gifted program. We've had students that have a variety of different learning disabilities or a variety of different special needs. And we've had students in this program that are supported through a variety of different individuals throughout the course of their day in a variety of different ways. My concern is, are they willing to work hard and take responsibility for learning? So that's what we want. We want students that will demonstrate professionalism because they work with professionals out in the field. And then we do have some professional attire, but all of those professional attire responsibilities or expectations really align with the work field. For example, our IT department, people in the IT world typically don't have to wear a suit and a tie. We don't ask our kids to wear a suit and a tie. It really aligns. Our elements of health and medicine kids, they're in scrubs sometimes. So it really reflects what their work environment looks like. But we want them to be inquisitive. We want them to look at this as an opportunity to really push themselves. There is a lot of academic rigor in these programs. There's a lot of college credits being earned. There's a lot of industry certifications. And quite frankly, we have high expectations of our kids in Insight. So those are some of the different things that we really want you to know before you embark on this. What happens if a student doesn't meet expectations in Insight? If a student is struggling because it's a content issue, we will support that student with the content. No questions asked. If a student is struggling in Insight because they are not meeting expectations because of a choice, because they don't want to follow through, they're not meeting deadlines, they're not collaborating well with others, etc., then we will work with them in a way that mimics what happens out in the quote-unquote real world. So those students will have some redirection from the instructors, and if it continues to be an issue, then they have a meeting with me. That's the final piece before we put formal pieces into place. If there's continues to be issues, then I sit down with the student, I contact the parents, and a performance improvement plan, just like employers use in the real world, is created for that student. And they will have specific actionable items that they need to meet. They'll have expectations that they need to meet, and we will have ongoing follow-ups to ensure that they are meeting those expectations. In fact, the template that we use for this is straight out of what companies use. If for any reason that is not successful, a student does risk being removed from the program. That does have an implication on their report card and their transcript. But it is very, very rare that that should happen because we have other pieces in place to make sure that the students receive any support that they need. If a student is removed from it, it is not a matter of a lack of ability. It is a matter of they are simply not meeting the expectations and not really ready to take responsibility for their learning in the way that we expect in Insight. So that's something I do want to preface on the front end for that. Okay, what are the benefits to it? It's hard, but it's good. I mean, there's lots of good things happening. There's industry certifications and college credits and relationships with mentors, and they work together. So the kids in these classes build incredible relationships with each other. In the Elements of Health and Medicine program, you'll walk into that classroom and there's going to be a bunch of them that are huddling over using medical equipment that, quite frankly, you don't usually use until your third year in college. They're doing advanced work. And it's incredible to see and listen to what the students are taking away and really applying from all of these experiences. We have had students get internships, get job offers, scholarships, a variety of different opportunities as a result of this program, which has been fantastic. And because we have it kind of broken down in a way, students don't ever lose the rest of the high school experience as a part of participating in this program, because they will always none of these courses take their entire day. So they don't lose out on other interactions that they might have with peers that aren't in this program. One of the other things that I do want to let you know about is we do have another program if you have a student that is really Insight ready, but does not find a home in any of the strands that we currently have available. We're constantly building this program, but we simply can't build it fast enough sometimes. We do have another program that is available for 10th through 12th grade students called Impact. This particular program also includes mentorship, and you work on a passion project of your choice. And it's a year-long one-credit class. It's led by 2 different teachers, and a student will really pick something that they are truly, truly passionate about it and see it through. We have had a student write her first novel as part of this particular course. She doesn't have it published yet. She's actually in the process of editing it right now, but her plan is to publish her first book before she completes high school. We've had another student in here, you might have seen the news articles on it last year, did a huge Special Olympics fundraiser here. And that was all coordinated by one student that we have in the school who is really, really passionate about special education and about serving others, and especially individuals that have special needs. And so she took this class as a 10th grader to be able to really follow through on her dream of creating, becoming a special education through Special Olympics, a unified champion school. And so our middle school is now a unified champion school based on her collaboration as a high schooler with our middle school in launching this program. So that is another class. If a student does not find a home here, they might find a home in our Impact course. Okay, so back to Insight. These are some of the other things that we've talked about. We do field trips. We are starting to get back into job shadows and things like that now post-pandemic. We definitely had to push pause on that for a significant period of time. We're hoping to open up that even more as we continue to move forward. The mentorship continues to be a pretty incredible opportunity that we have through this program. And we do have a couple of universities that have expressed interest in Insight. And they have come to us, they've toured, they've talked with our kids, they've looked at our curriculum, they've connected with our teachers and our administrators, and they have now said that they endorse the Insight program. What endorsement means is essentially that if a student applies to that college and can demonstrate that they're part of the Insight program, they will look favorably on that. Doesn't necessarily mean you're a shoo-in or anything like that, but it means that they're familiar with the program and they view its rigor and its connections and its authentic learning positively as part of their college application process. And those schools are Marquette, Whitewater, Milwaukee, and MSOE at this point. In terms of transcripts, all of our transcripts will show the individual classes that a student takes as part of this program. So for example, our global business. A student that's in our global business, their transcript will break down and it will have their ELA course on it with 1 grade. And it will have our college credit and high school econ class with that grade and our project management business class with that grade. But there's an asterisk then with the indication that that class was taken through the Insight program. So we wanted to make sure that colleges would be able to look at our transcripts and understand what that means and understand the classes that a student took. They might not understand what Insight Global Business was, so we break those classes down individually. All right, so next steps. So if you're interested, or if your kids are interested, the deadline is Friday, January 6th at midnight. We have a very, very fast turnaround. So the application will literally turn off and won't accept any more applications after midnight on the 6th. The application has been emailed to every single student. It is also on our website, www.pewaukeeinsight.com, and you'll be able to click a button and access the application directly there. I will also continue to email the link out because sometimes students aren't awesome about checking their emails regularly. What will happen is Friday night, that application window closes. The next Monday, I will send an email out that all students need to apply. They need to check their email and they will need to sign up for an interview. So that interview is part of the application process. Just like in the real world, they need to interview. It's not just a class that they can sign up for. So the application itself requires a couple of essay questions that students complete. And again, what we're looking for is really their ability and interest in working hard. The interview process They'll sign up on that Monday, and then the interviews will run Tuesday through the next week. So some interviews might take place in resource. The vast majority will be after school. Fingers crossed that we make it through this winter without needing to go virtual. We would much prefer to hold the interviews in person. We have done kind of a combination over the last couple of years, depending on where we're at with COVID and other health issues. The students will interview in groups of 4 students. So they'll come in with a group of 3 others, so they're not going to be all on their own. And they will be interviewing with a panel of Insight teachers. And what we will do then is let students know January 19th whether or not they are accepted into the program. That allows them to get confirmation one way or the other before the deadlines for scheduling classes that the school counseling department has. So we have kind of a tight timeline there, but we want to make sure students know before they actually have to physically go in and sign up their classes, because if they're not accepted, they can't sign up into that. Now, one of the questions I get is, do we have caps or limitations on our classes? Sometimes we do. Most often it happens with our Elements of Health and Medicine program, because we will have a limited number of seats available to us through WCTC. Due to state ratios for the CNA program, they can only take so many students in order to maintain their ratio, and they will let us know how many spots we have. So that is the one that most often we run into issues with in terms of capacity. And if that is the case, we will always develop a waiting list. There are times as well that a student might demonstrate that they're they might interview, and it might be one of those things where I come back to them and say, show me what you can do the second half of the school year and we'll talk again. And that might be the case as well. We usually have those every year, but we really want to push students and see how much are you committed, and are you really ready to start taking responsibility for your education. So that's what the application deadline looks like. I am the only PLOC in the entire district, so my email is up there. I will say, if you do send me an email, careful, because it auto-corrects to placard a lot, and it's not. But if you have questions or follow-up, please, please, please email me. I am happy to get on the phone. I'm happy to meet with you. I'm happy to email or answer any questions that you have. I really appreciate you sitting and just listening to me talk for 45 minutes. And if you have questions or concerns, I would be happy to answer them now, or I will also stick around as long as needed for the rest of the evening until I get all of your questions answered. So are there any big group questions right now? Go for it. Yes, so the question was, is World Translations just a semester? That is correct, thank you. Yes. Usually we group them one semester, and that depends on the scheduling jigsaw puzzle. Okay, that's a great question. Where does the global part come in with global business? Because the projects are local. As of right now, the vast majority of our projects are more local, although we certainly have some that have been nationwide. We have not breached that international part yet. They are working on some certifications right now that are giving them a little bit more broader experience. And then our mentors right now, to be honest with you, are all over the place. Because some of the requests that we're getting for mentors right now are people that we just don't necessarily have here in Pewaukee. So we do have mentors from all over, which has been fantastic. The project management piece works on a couple of different formats of project management that are used in a variety of capacities that can be translated over to international collaborations as well. Did that answer your question? Okay, awesome. Go ahead. Great question, Impact. There's no deadline for Impact. Impact is a class that students can sign up for. We are considering bringing it under the Insight umbrella in future years, in which case there would be an application process. But as of right now, you can sign up for the class. I do think you might need to connect it's in the course description guide. You might need to have some sort of a recommendation from a teacher, but there's not an application or interview process associated with the impact course. Yes. Okay, great question. Transportation, how do we arrange that? So for the business office, when students will go to the Insight office, the vast majority of our students will drive themselves if they have access to a vehicle, and then they need to sign, and mom, dad, or parent guardian needs to sign a transportation form. And that does allow them to transport themselves back and forth. However, we always want to make sure that a lack of transportation does not preclude a student from engaging in this process. So we do have a shuttle that, if needed, we will run back and forth between the Insight office and the high school. For the CNA program at WCTC, that is not something where we have transportation provided. That program actually starts earlier than our school starts, so we don't have busing available to get anybody there, so they'd have to get themselves to WCTC, and then they usually, if they don't have access, literally we share a property line with them, so we have students that can just walk through the prairie to get back, so that's something that they'll do. Field trips and things like that are always, those are things that we generally provide transportation for. And then in terms of mentor meetings, if a mentor would like to meet, or if the student and the mentor, because it's always a joint decision, meets anywhere outside of the school district, that is something that they would need to provide their own transportation for. We don't provide transportation to and from a mentor's place of employment. We do have some mentors that only choose to meet virtually, or they only can meet virtually, particularly for those mentors that might work in healthcare. Right now, oftentimes those doors are closed for in-person or employment-based types of meetings. And additionally, we do have a growing number, like I said, of people who are mentors on, I mean, we have some in Oregon, we have them in Texas, we have them in Florida. So we've got mentors all over the U.S. right now. It is a one-year class, so they get all of those in 1 year. It takes up the first 2 hours of their day, so it's A and B days for the entire year, but they will get all of those credits as part of that program. It's all built into that time. Yes, absolutely. So the question is the technology boot camp. So what this is, first of all, this is, we really want to be able to have our students in our technology support internship hit the ground running during the first couple days of the school year. So we actually offer, it's a half day only. We usually offer it about the week before school starts, because at that point we find that people are back. And so many of our sports have started up, and we've got so many different activities going. We find that the vast majority of our families are here those last couple of days right before the school year starts. We don't have the exact date set yet, but it's a half day where we have our tech support incoming students coming in, and they work with our IT department, and they also work with the students that are returning to TSI for a second year or a third year, who have really become leaders in the program. And they get hands-on experience with all of the different types of devices, and they get to practice what it's like to fix a camera, remove and replace keyboard keys, really open up the motherboard of one of these devices, count the number of screws, and then try to find all the different places where all the screws have to go back, because we usually have, 3 or 4 screws that are left and nobody knows where they went. So really kind of practicing on all of those different types of things. So half day, and if for any reason there is a conflict, I will work with you. I don't want that to stop someone from applying. Any other questions? Yes? Okay, so the question is, do most of the programs qualify for college credit? Not all of them. We have WCTC credit through our Elements of Health and Medicine. We have college credit in global business, and we have college credit in serving others. And then the rest of them, we usually try to have some sort of an industry certification that's built into it if there are not college credits associated with it. That is a great question. The question is, how transferable are the college credits? There is not a simple answer to that. And I will say that a ton of that really depends on the college. The beauty of college credit in high school, that particular program is because, the beauty is that that's through UWGB. So having that collaboration with Green Bay increases the likelihood of the transferability of those credits as the same in the university system here in Wisconsin, except Madison. Madison is very, very challenging. They will oftentimes not accept credits as like econ credits earned as econ credits in Madison. They are by far the strictest program in the state for accepting transferable credits. However, oftentimes, if a student earns credits, even if it doesn't apply as just, let's say econ credits, oftentimes the school will accept them as general ed or elective credits, if nothing else. So you usually won't be lacking credits, but because all of these schools are different, there's really not a uniform answer to that, and I'm sorry for that. That's constantly a battle that our school counselors are working with trying to figure out what credits will be accepted and which credits won't be, because that's a common issue with high schools across the nation right now. It's a great, great question. I just had something come into my head that I was going to say, but I forgot what it was. So that is one of the things, anyhow, to look for those transferability credits. The beauty also of the college credit and high school piece is that it is different from AP in the fact that with an AP class, you have to take the test. You have to take the big AP exam in May, and then depending on how you do on that exam will determine whether or not you get credits and how many credits you might get. With the college credit in high school option, you do pay a little bit per credit, but you are guaranteed those credits as long as you pass the class with I think it's a B or better. So there's no big stressful exam at the back. As long as you've demonstrated competency and proficiency in the standards throughout the course of that class, you do get those college credits. Other questions that you might have? That's a great question. So the question is, are there ever scheduling constraints with these courses? Sometimes there are. We oftentimes, the insight courses are oftentimes locked into place in certain ways. So for example, our Elements of Health and Medicine is really locked in place because the students need to be at WCTC for a certain time period, and we know what that time period is. So there are those particular elements that we work around. We do have students once in a while that will have a conflict where they want to take a particular course that might be what we call a singleton. There's only one section of it offered every day, kind of a thing. But we really try to balance the insight courses to minimize when that happens. So for example, our global business course runs in the mornings, hours 1 and 2, but we have had students, maybe if they can't take that course because of a conflict, they might go to the business innovations, which is hour 3. So we try to kind of spread them out throughout the course of the day so that if students are interested, they should be able to access those if at all possible. Our counselors are absolutely just tremendous individuals at trying to be creative and working around pieces. The other thing that's really nice is because we do know going in prior to the scheduling process how many sections we might need of things, that helps them better plan. So this whole process takes place prior to students scheduling classes, which helps them better prepare and build the schedule that's going to have the least amount of conflicts to it. And then there are some courses, for example, like our TSI course, our Technology Support Internship. We need our help desk manned every hour of every day. So there's beauty in that particular course because students, we have that open all throughout the course of the day. Students are working independently a lot of the time, manning our help desk. So that class essentially runs every single hour of every single day. Other questions? I truly appreciate you all coming tonight. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to stop up here if you didn't want to ask them to the whole group. Otherwise, if you suddenly come up with one later on this evening or later on over break, don't hesitate to reach out, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I appreciate it. I know these weeknights are long, and I know that schedules are tight, particularly in December. So have a lovely evening, and thank you all for coming tonight and being interested in this process.